We're going to pull this out of the way so that we can sit comfortably. As you're in the back, you can see us right away. There's seats up here, too.
Hello.
So, who has any questions?
Oh, me? Cool.
Sure.
I have two questions. The first is, oh, alright, cool. That's fine too. Is this on?
I think so.
It's alright, I'll just speak loudly.
Yay!
Thank you. Juliet Landau just called me impressive. Awesome. Okay. So, my question is, I make films also, or I can do this also works as well, I suppose. Fine. I was wondering, I make some films as well, mostly stuff with my family and things like that, but I show them around and stuff, and I was wondering what is, like, the one piece of advice that, you could give me, just with making films. And the other question I had is, I am also a Jew, and I was wondering, what do I have to do to get Gary Oldman to push me on a swing? That one. We'll give that some thought, because that'd be great.
Let's see. Advice, I would say, to follow your vision. If you have an idea about something that you want to make, to really follow it through, because and to take other people's opinions, but to also really listen to your own voice about things, and see where that leads you, because I feel like as an artist, as an actor, as a director, when I'm dancing, like it's always sort of led me in the right direction when I listened to what I thought was right. So I would say that.
Hi Juliet, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I don't have a question so much as a couple of comments.
Okay.
First one, I loved seeing the incredibly lo-fi, low-end work that was being done. I mean, just using gaffer's tape and a cell phone and, even a magnifying glass. I love that look. It was just so incredible. And also, I loved the music that you chose.
Thank you.
How did you go about using these? Are you very well versed in classical music, or what? Because they seem like very obscure pieces.
Well, what happened was, I was a dancer, I was a ballerina before, so I do have some knowledge of classical music, but what happened was, when I called Gary and basically said I wanted to make it more a documentary about his creative process, I was trying to figure out, for a while, I was like, okay, the outside world has this Jewish hip-hop, Red Rover music, and I wanted to figure out the right music for Gary's internal creative spirit. And I called him and he was like, good luck. That's what he said to me. And I was like, okay. And so I tried jazz, I tried a bunch of different things, and then I was like, no, it feels like classical will be the way to go. And I literally just went through tons and tons of different things and kept putting it up against the footage. And then these pieces all kind of spoke to me. I was like, that's it, that's it, that's it. And the weird thing is that 3 out of the 4 classical pieces ended up having birds in the like it's the lark ascending, the magpie, the swan. But I didn't go about seeking out birds in songs, but those were the ones. And then I was like, oh, this is so serendipitous. There's all this bird footage in it. And then to me, the film was about that moment of everybody when you're working and sort of your creativity and that spark, and everything sort of gels and takes flight. So it just sort of worked out that those were the right pieces. And then it was a little bit of a journey, because The Lark Ascending is a Vaughan Williams piece. That's the end piece with the sunset footage, and I was the minute I saw it, I was like, this has to be the music. And so I wrote the Vaughan Williams estate for the rights, and they quoted me 4 times the budget of the entire making of a documentary. And so I said, oh well, I can't do that. And so I wrote this impassioned letter and sent them the film, and they gave it to me for next to nothing. They were like, okay, we love it, and we'll do it. And I also was saying that I thought it would reach an audience of people that weren't as familiar with the music, and would get to hear it. And yeah. So that was a really fun part for me. Doing the music was a huge part, and I just loved the sort of contradiction or disparity between the chutzpah music and the classical pieces, and also Gary as an artist, and kind of fooling around and all of that stuff.
Yes, I'm just curious, how did you get hooked up with Gary Oldman? I mean, how did you get to a place where Gary Oldman says, hey, please make my making of? And how did Chutzpah get hooked up with Gary? That's, you know, really awesome.
Well, first of all, Chutzpah actually tore the lead singer in the red jumpsuit. He is a friend of Gary's, and their kids go to the same school. So that was basically how they met. And he came to Gary and said, I'd love you to do this video. And Gary was trying to figure out what could he do with a nano budget, nothing, to make it creative and interesting. And that's when he came up with the cell phone idea. And as far as Gary, my husband, Deborah Weeks, was the other cinematographer who operated all of the rest of the cell phone footage along with Gary.
Yay!
We were not married at the time, but he introduced me to Gary, and Gary, he was a fan of my work, which I couldn't believe. I'm a tremendous fan of his work, and we actually met and just started talking and really hit it off and clicked, and he was really great, because when I had to show him the final film, I've been editing, I worked with my editor, Iggy Ogard, really closely. I sat in I watched, there was 50 hours of footage that I watched 3 times through, and that's the other thing I would say, is for me, I had a vision of kind of what I wanted to do, and I went and got it. Like, I knew I wanted the girls to sing, I knew what I wanted to get ahead of time, but I felt like, especially with documentary film, that there's a certain point where the film kind of tells you a little bit of what it really needs to be, and I couldn't get that, and someone had given me the advice, my husband, that said there will be a point if you watch the footage where it will speak to you. And I sat there with my friend who's shot a lot of it, produced it. He's a 3-time Emmy award-winning sound editor that did the sound on this with me, and he was sleeping through most of it. And I was like, oh, I'm not. And then all of a sudden, I got the idea of like the kind of perspective and the timeline of sort of peppering and then getting more sort of into clearly where Gary, where he was going. And it did sort of come to me. So I would say that's the other thing, is sort of let that the footage that you have will tell you a lot if you're really familiar with it. I found that.
Just as a comment, I wanted to just say that I'm glad that it's clear that you enjoyed the process, but it is also very clear of the joy that you took it to.
Yeah, we did. It was a really, really fun experience.
So has he seen the footage?
Oh yeah, so that's what I was going to say. It was funny because he basically said, do what you want. He gave me total carte blanche. And so I sat in, side by side with my editor, working for months. And also when you're working on a total no budget, you pulling favors. And I luckily have all these incredibly talented, like Emmy award winning, we got PhotoChem color corrected the movie for free for me because they loved it too. I came and a friend of mine who helped produce it introduced me to Mike Rogerson there, and he saw it and said, we'll help you out on this one. I was like, thank you. And basically, Gary, there came a day when I said to Gary, okay, I want to show you this film. And so he said, okay, come over to my house and, we'll watch it together. I was like, okay. And you never know, especially when you're working with, it's about somebody, and we're all actors, and everybody there are things they like or they don't like about themselves, and, it's subjective, and here I am, like, doing this movie back here. So I go over to his house with my laptop and my hard drive. I'm completely panicked. I mean, nothing has ever made me this nervous. I completely like, oh my God, I'm going to hear the movie. So I'm like, okay, so what? So I set it up, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, this is going to be the most interminable half hour of my entire life. I can't believe I have to sit here with Gary while he's watching it. And I brought this really thick notebook and a pen, to make notes. So the minute it starts, he starts laughing. He's like, oh my God. He's like nudging me. He's like, did I say that? And I'm like, I had the best time watching it with him. I'm like, this is really fun. So we finished the film, and he has this huge smile on his face. So I opened the notebook, and I had my pen poised. And he's like, I love it. It shows me in a way that I never get to be seen, really. People don't know this side of me. I played so many villains and And so he says, there's one sound cue when I say, I forget the sound cue, and he said, if you just move it slightly to this one bird, if you move it over, let's go up, and I showed it to him, and he's like, there, if you move it there, I think that'll work better. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm waiting, and that's it. And I'm like, that's it? Gary Oldman, I have one note about a sound cue. And he gets on the phone, he calls his manager, Doug, and he's like, I love this movie, and he got really excited. And I was kind of shell-shocked, and I called Devil, and it was before we were together, and he's like, how'd it go? I was like, I think it went amazing. He gave me one note. He's like, what's the note? I'm like, the sound cue. And so it was really, really, really special when he saw it. I mean, I think, I'm happy that he felt like it captured something that he was proud of.
What were you trying to do with keeping his shots in their aspect ratio as that was going and your own?
I basically wanted two things. It was interesting because that was one of the things in terms of paying attention to my own. Like, I wanted to. A lot of people said to me, you just have to letterbox the whole thing. But I really wanted people to be able to, like the audience, when you're watching it, to be able to differentiate and to be able to be like, oh, now we're inside his view. And I tried a number of things. I tried color correcting it differently. I tried black and white in color. And I found all of that. The thing that I really thought was interesting is that it was seamless with the other footage. There's sometimes you're sort of like, that's a cell phone, especially if it's projected really beautifully. The end footage literally projects. We have it on a huge screen when we did the premiere, where the Sunset Beach footage looks like 35 millimeter, film stock, and it's literally this Nokia flip phone. And so I just really wanted the viewer to sort of be able to be like, oh, we're inside, we're outside, we're inside, until we're totally inside that.